Hey there guys, what's up? Today we're going to talk about the next Legion video, specifically the Emperor's Children. Alright, so the Emperor's Children are the third Legion. They are the Emperor's Palatine Legion, meaning that they're the only ones who were allowed to have his Aquila on their armor as heraldry for a long time, like until after the Heresy. So, let's start with immediately post-unification. Their recruits were mostly taken from previously defined European nobles, which is, you know, kind of where the Emperor's Children name came from, but their actual original pre-Primarch reunification thing is not known. So, one thing that they did very well was work with the fledgling Imperial Army, which is a thing that most of the other legions saw as degrading, that they had to fight with mere mortals. And they won the honor of bearing the Aquila, which I was just talking about, after a defense of the Emperor at Proxima, which was apparently such a fucking problem because the Emperor almost died. Anyway, now about a year after the Proxima betrayal and their earning of the Palatine Aquila, they were singled out by a Selenite plot. I don't actually know what the fuck the Selenite are. If they're just, you know, a fucking faction of humanity that's just named weird or some other shit. I don't know. But they unleashed a gene forge virus, which, or a genophage virus, something like that. Basically what it did was it broke down their genome into sludge. And they managed to stem the infection, but it did so much damage that they were irreversibly dropped into like the hundreds instead of the thousands. Like, for instance, some of the other legions at this time, like the Sons of not the Sons of Horus, the Lunar Wolves, the Ultramarines, and the Dark Angels, they were all upwards of 100,000 Marines right now, and the Emperor's Children was in the hundreds. So they had swiftly gone from being full strength to completely massively under strength in like a very short amount of time. So soon after that, Fulgrim was discovered on Chemos, and he had like a rousing speech to all 200 of his Marines there about how they were going to go around and take the planets of the Imperium back for the people or some shit. Who knows? It's Fulgrim. Fulgrim makes a bunch of bullshit promises that mean nothing. He talks out of his ass a lot. So, following this and realizing that his legion is basically dead, they're assigned to serve with the Luna Wolves, and they do so for almost 100 years, up until Ulanor. And after Ulanor, it's determined that his legion has been reinforced enough to undertake its own expeditionary fleets. So it is an important distinction to note that Fulgrim's legion was very heavily regimented, with a rank called Lord Commander. Now, there were other legions that had this rank, the rank of Lord Commander, but if I recall correctly, there were only 2 Lord Commanders in the Emperor's Children, and one of them was like, I want to say Valerian, and the other one's name was Eidolon. Eidolon is kind of a dick. Valerian is not as much of a dick, but we're going to call him that for now because I cannot for the life of me remember what his name is. Other notable Emperor's Children are Lucius, the probably a big bag of dicks, Salt Harvitz, who was a pretty cool guy, and Ancient Rylanor, which was a rather large contemptor brother who was from like the earliest days of the Legion. All right, so let's keep moving on. Now their expeditionary fleet was assigned a planet called Laren, and Laren was a whole clusterfuck, man. Like, best believe that there were a lot of problems with this. But chief among them was the fact that basically nobody wanted to fucking deal with it, because the damn thing would take forever to do. It was a whole mess. Like, just a ridiculous bullshit, badly prosecuted campaign. And basically the Administratum thought that it would take months and months and possibly years to get this shit done, to the point where it would be worth it. So the Emperor's children just go, ha, nah. And they fucking charge that shit and do it in like 6 months or some other ludicrous number like that. It should also be noted that this is basically where the taint originated in the Emperor's Children. It was on Laren, specifically towards the end when they came across the Serpent Cult Temple. And it's not the only Serpent Cult in 40k, but I have to call it the Serpent Cult because they're basically all fucking zombies. I mean snakes. Snake people, not zombies. Sorry. That's a different Primarch. So dealing with this shit, holy hell. They get the Lair Blade, and the Lair Blade is a chaos artifact, and Fulgrim's just like, you know what? I like this sword. I'm gonna keep it. And I guess the prohibition on Xenos technology wasn't too high right now. Just kidding, it totally was. Fulgrim was just being a douchebag and flouting the rules because he wanted to. Alright. So, after that, we have, a little minor dust-up called Istvan 3, in which all the loyalist members of both, all the loyalist members of the World Eaters, the Death Guard, the Luna Wolves, and our friends, the Emperor's Children, were sent down to fight a fake fight against a fake governor so that they could be really murdered. And our notable casualties are Salt Harvitz, and Ancient Rylanor. There's some other guys who died there too, but they're not as important to me, so I don't care. It should be noted that the Emperor's Children's decline, if not in full force at this point, was further compounded during this time, to the point where they weren't necessarily, bludgeoning themselves for the feeling of it, but they were getting kind of weird. Lucius especially began on the loyalist side with Saltarvitz as captain, and then decided that he didn't want to be friends anymore, and he joined Lord Eidolon and fucking killed them all. Ha! Fun times, right? So, following the drop site massacre, we have a bunch of bullshit happen. Fulgrim slowly goes off the rails. Horus realizes it's not actually his brother. Decides not to destroy him because... Oh, fuck. Okay. So, I got a little ahead of myself. Following Istvan 3, there was the Drop Site Massacre. The Drop Site Massacre occurred when Iron Hands Salamanders and the Raven Guard, along with 4 traitor legions, tried to go fight Horus's rebellion. And those 4 traitor legions are, of course, the Iron Warriors, the Alpha Legion, the Night Lords, and our bestest friends. Those other guys that I can't remember. Oh, I feel bad. Who the fuck is it? Ward Bears. Yeah, Ward Bears. So, this force of cool guys heads out there to, you know, fight Horus's rebellion, which at this point encompasses Mortarion, Horus, Angron, and Fulgrim. Unbeknownst to them, it also includes Lorgar, Perturabo, Conrad Kurz, and Alfarius Omegian. Which, it's probably some information they would have wanted to know before battle brothering it up and letting them all be in the second wave. So, in between then and now, fucking Fulgrim tries to convince his best bro, Ferrus Manus, to be a traitor. And surprise, surprise, Ferrus is not down with the sickness. Tries to fight Fulgrim. Fails miserably. Gets all his dudes murdered. Hilariously. And, you know, it's just... It's sad when you can't fucking get your shit together right. And you lose all your dudes, like your first company honor guard, when, you know, they get fucking massacred by Fulgrim's flashy Phoenix dudes. Like, that was sad. That was sad for Ferrus. He stopped short of actually, you know, fucking killing Ferrus. Ferrus decides to take, because at this point their entire expeditionary fleets are meeting to discuss this shit. So Ferrus is like, you know what? Give me all the guys that you got, all the veterans we got left, and I will take them with a ship, and we will go and fight fucking Fulgrim. Now this doesn't go very well for him in any sense of the word, because Fulgrim basically gets corrupted to shit by the Lair Blade during this time. It takes him over because he doesn't feel like he can kill his brother, Ferrus Manus. In fact, he actively stops. He's trying to let him live, or, you know, trying not to kill him at least. And the Lair Blade takes over. The demon inside takes over. And then decapitates our good guy, Ferrus Manus, which kind of sucks, but whatever. Fucking Iron Hands are basically broken at this point. They're the epitome of Shattered Legion. No more Primarch. He's dead. They know he's dead, and they don't know what the fuck to do. So they start trying to fall back. Most of them keep trying to fight, but they start trying to fall back. Now the Salamanders and the Raven Guard know about this, but because Ferrus Manus rushed so far fucking ahead, they couldn't do anything about it. So they realize they've been routed. They can't sit there and bombard the fuck out of them because Horus can't. They can't bombard the fuck out of the loyalists because fucking Angron let slip his leash and just fucking charged on down in there. Which is literally the only reason why any of the Raven Guard, Salamanders, and Iron Hands survived at all. It's kind of the same for the first one, Isstvan 3, but not to the extent that this happened. And not a lot of people got off of there. In fact, I think the only ones who did were the Death Guard in the Eisenstein. So, bullshit happens, obviously, because why the fuck not? It's Fulgrim. Bullshit's his middle name. They kind of just go off the fucking rails. Like, they'd always been a little kooky, but you got remembrancers going fucking nuts. One of them started murdering people by luring them to her room and then using their bodily fluids to paint a masterpiece of Fulgrim, which was, you know, absolutely monstrously disgusting. But it was seen as some sort of auditory magnificence or some shit. Who the fuck knows, honestly. But it said that out of all of that shit that happened, the only thing that even remotely survived in a decent state was the picture of Fulgrim in La Fenice, the massive opera house that our good guy Fulgrim had built for himself so long ago. And that's because that's where the demon put his soul. Or it's theorized that's where the demon put his soul. Now, whether or not he actually did put his soul in there is still up for debate. It said that he kind of fucking wrestled with the demon, eventually banishing him, but was so corrupted that it was basically nothing different. And then there are also reports that, you know, and this is probably retcon shit, but that his soul is still inside the fucking portrait. So, honestly, who the fuck really knows? They participated in the attack with Moloch, which is where Horus gained his powers of chaos, the same way that Big E did. We'll talk more about that in the Luna Wolves video, but he was present at the Siege of Terra, and before that, the entirety of the book Angel Exterminatus has him with Perturabo leading him on a fool's errand to a crone world called Aegis so that he can suck out Perturabo's soul to make himself stronger. Which sounds like a hilarious joke, but is 100% accurate. He tried to suck his brother's soul out so that he could demonize himself. Now, they also, the Emperor's children, in the majority at this point, learned that Eldar souls taste delicious, and just began cracking open as many soul gems as they could find, which is also fucked up. Eventually, Fulgrim does reach apotheosis, turns into a demon prince, and Perturabo doesn't die. Barely. He almost dies, but he doesn't. Then Siege of Terra, you know what happens there. Snake God, fucking Fulgrim, goes and has a shit party all over everything. Rapes, pillages, all this great stuff. Because who the fuck wouldn't? When you're a snake god of hedonism. Alright. Following this, the events as known as the Scouring saw his legion shattered into tiny little pieces. Because Fulgrim just kind of fucked off. But that's good because, you know, otherwise he'd be sitting there grabbing like fucking slaves and shit. Anyway, during this time, Thramus is something else. Basically, he slices open Gilliman's neck, which puts him in his coma, hilariously. Because Gilliman tries to single combat his way through the fight for something, because he got so angry that Fulgrim led him into a tactically disadvantageous position, which is, I'd say, the funniest part of that, is that Fulgrim did that. It's not even good Fulgrim, you know, like, top of his game, search of perfection guy. Fulgrim, the snake demon. Anyway, They all just, they fucked off into the Eye of Terror. They don't do much anymore. Occasionally you see, like, fucking Noise Marines and shit, but, few and far between. Emperor's Children just kind of fuck off. So, that means that basically they're going to be doing a bunch of shit in 8th edition. Simply because we're just getting every fucking Primarch that we possibly could inside this edition. So, I'm excited for that. Not like, super excited to have to fucking paint Fulgrim, but who the fuck cares, right? Anyway, if you enjoyed this video that has gone for way too long now, please let me know in the comments, like and subscribe. Go watch the first video on the Dark Angels. And I'll see you guys on Thursday with Perturabo and the Iron Warriors. See you guys.